Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the University of Nottingham PGCEi webinar. My name is Helen Spiropoulos. I'm the Admissions Manager, Stafford Global, and joining me all the way from the University of Nottingham this evening is Dr. Jane Medwell. Good evening to you, Dr. Jane.
Hello, it's lovely to be with you.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And again, thank you, everyone. I can see on my right-hand side, we do have quite a lot of you that have joined us. I can see that it's as far as Saudi Arabia and some from the UAE, which is fantastic. Okay, so how we are going to do the presentation this evening is I'm just briefly going to introduce you to Stafford Global and what we do. I'm then going to hand you over to Dr. Jane, who's going to take you through the program. At the end of the presentation, you will have the opportunity to type out any questions that you may have for Dr. Jane or for myself. Now, I am going to be looking at these questions quite carefully because a lot of them are very similar, if not identical. So please do listen out for your question as well as the answer. Okay, so let's get started. Well, who is Stafford Global? Now, Stafford Global was established quite a few years ago. It's almost 30 years that we are in the education industry, and we are a resource center for distance education in the Middle East. Now, we are currently a resource center for 6 UK universities, one of which is the University of Nottingham, with which we have quite a long-standing relationship. Now, we do offer a variety of programs, starting from certificates to diplomas, bachelor degrees, right through until doctorate. So we really do look out for programs that would suit your personal and professional needs. Now, we do also have a very, very strong administrative support team. So when you do start your program, you're still in touch with Stafford, and we also do offer some academic assistance as well. Okay, so I'm now going to hand you over to Dr. Jane. As mentioned, she's going to take you through the program, and then I'll join you towards the end of the presentation. Over to you, Dr. Jane.
Thank you, Helen. Well, we are delighted to work with Stafford in offering the PGCEi in UAE. It works really well for us, and we're very grateful to Stafford for all the work they do in helping students to enroll in our courses and in supporting students with processes that might be unfamiliar to them. We are a major UK university, part of the prestigious Russell Group, and of course, we tend to take a research-led approach because of that. We have 6 campuses, one of which is in China and another Malaysia, and the others are in various places around Nottingham. And we're internationally recognised for our research expertise in particular, and that's why we take a very research-led approach to our PGCEi. The Postgraduate Certificate in Education International is a very special course. It's a master's level program, so it might be a little bit of a step up from what you're used to in your undergraduate studies. And it's a program of professional enrichment for educators who are working abroad. Abroad for us, of course, means everywhere in the world. And we have cohorts all over the world, from South America to East Africa. Now, our Postgraduate Certificate in Education International is a course that, although it's largely done at a distance through study, it's blended. So we have 2 weekends of face-to-face workshops, and we also have online webinars and tutorials with personal and academic tutors. And we pride ourselves in giving a really good personal contact with our students. We think that our face-to-face workshops enormously improve our success rates, and that's what we care about in the end. Our course focuses on your practice. So we're going to try and get you to link what you learn from us about theory with what you do in the classroom, and to consider various options and your own growth as a teacher. We have 3 modules in the PGCEi, and you have to do all of them. They carry CATS points, credit accumulation and transfer points, which are an international currency for higher education, and they're at master's level. Each module has 20 credits, 20 CATS points, and the course is technically about 11 months, but by the time everything's been into the examinations board and been awarded, it's about 12 months. Now, our 3 modules are educational aims and values in international context, learning and teaching in international context, and inquiring into educational practice in international contexts. Educational aims and values might sound a bit abstract, but it's not at all. It looks at the really big decisions that underpin what we teach and how we teach it, and how those vary across the world and affect what you do in each and every lesson. The second module really focuses on understanding learning, because if we understand learning, then we understand the implications for teaching, and we can teach much more effectively. And the final module looks at inquiring, because as a teacher, you are inquiring about your children's understanding all the time. Now, sometimes you might think of it as assessment, but in fact, it's underpinned by inquiry into understanding and learning. And so being an inquirer is really fundamental to being a successful teacher. Now, each of those 3 modules includes coursework. So there are pieces of work you have to submit, and there will be a 4,000 word equivalent assignment that you will submit towards the end of each module. And we pace that work very carefully to help you to get through with as little strain as possible. If you pass each assignment at 53 or above, those are master's level credits. 53 is our pass mark for master's level work. And many of our students use those credits towards a full MA in education, MA in special needs, or an MA in educational leadership and management. If you have 60 CATS points, credits, those can go towards the full CATS point total of the master's degree. And one of the great advantages of the PGCEi from that point of view is that if you have passed the PGCEi, you're guaranteed admission to the master's programme. You don't have to redo all the application processes. During your PGCEi, we expect you to be relatively independent learners, but everything is available for you online. And if you're struggling, you can always contact your tutor. Your tutor will go through the whole programme with you and serve both as your academic tutor and your personal tutor. Now, that means that we will offer you the opportunity to meet with your tutor at certain times during your year. We do understand what it's like to study as a professional. We do understand how busy you are. And so we recognise that some of you may find you're not able to attend webinars, which we like to do face-to-face so that we keep contact with you. But if you can't, every webinar or tutorial meeting is recorded so that you can look at it again. Now, what do you need to become a Nottingham PGCEi student? Well, you need a bachelor's degree with second-class honours or equivalent. Now, we are all ex-teachers ourselves, and we recognise that a great deal is learned through being a teacher. So, if you have other professional qualifications or experience equivalent to a second-class honours, we consider each case individually. If English is not your first language, we do require an IELTS score of 6.5 with 6 in all the 4 elements. And our Stafford colleagues will be able to advise you about which other tests we accept as equivalent. How much time will you need in school? Well, this course is designed for people to be established educators with day-to-day access to an educational context. That doesn't mean you have to be teaching full-time. You may be right at the beginning of your school experience, or you may be engaged in online teaching. But you will need some connection with an educational context because the work we ask you to do specifically links issues of ideas and theory to what you're doing. You will also, of course, need an access to a computer and the internet because a lot of the course is done through that. So, when you apply, what are you going to need to produce? Well, we will need your degrees to see your degree certificate and academic transcript. We'll need a reference either from your current employer or your academic background. You will have to write a personal statement, and this is where our Stafford colleagues can be particularly helpful. You'll need to give us a detailed curriculum vitae, and you'll need to fill in the application form. We'll need to see a copy of your passport and proof of your English qualification or competency. We're currently accepting applications for the March, is that 2024? Would it be 2024? Yes, it will be 2024, for our course based in UAE. And in fact, the programme now begins on the 24th and 25th of February, and the application deadline will be around the 28th of January. Now, we have two-day induction programmes in March and October, and attendance at those is compulsory. They are really important to making good progress. We are able to support you to fully understand what you're doing and to make it as simple as possible for you. And we value meeting you in person. That's why we're able to call it a blended course. And that's why it doesn't appear as an online course in your qualification certificate. It simply appears as PGCEi. Now, fees you should discuss with the Stafford consultant, and they are very helpful in considering that with you. I think that's everything I wanted to say, but I'm hoping your questions will open up the things that are important for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Jane. That was actually very good and quite informative. And I have been looking at some of these questions already in the background, so there are quite a few that I can see coming through. Okay, so let's just go through to Jasmine. And her question is that I do have a degree in physiotherapy, which is a second-class honours. Would this be the best course for me to become a teacher?
Hi, Jasmine, that's a really good question. You would be amazed at the range of people we have on the Postgraduate Certificate of Education International. International teachers are really different from domestic teachers. They become international teachers for a whole range of reasons, and they have a much wider range of backgrounds than domestic teachers. So you would certainly not be alone in having a degree that isn't obviously about teaching. Most of our students don't. Your degree would be absolutely fine, but what you'll need is a connection with a school. So you might contact local schools and find out if there's somewhere where you could volunteer and you could do some work in that school. And then that would assist you in taking the PGCEi based on your existing degree and a connection with that school.
Okay, good. And the next question actually comes from Sadaf. Would the 60 credits from my PGCE count towards a master's in education?
Yes, if you did the Masters in Education at the University of Nottingham, those 60 credits count towards the Masters in Education or the Masters in Education Special Needs. And I'm not sure quite how many, maybe 40 or 30, I can't remember, to the Masters in Leadership and Management. They are actually an international currency, but each course at each university decides how many credits it accepts towards each programme. At the University of Nottingham, if you've got the PGCEi, you get automatic entry to the Masters in Education, Masters in Special Needs, and the Masters in Educational Leadership and Management. And so you don't have to go right through the whole application process, and they will accept those credits as part of your master's degree.
Okay, and quite a common question that has come through, and I can see it coming through for about five attendees here, is about QTS. So does this program provide QTS, and how do I go about getting the QTS?
This program is a program of professional enrichment, and it doesn't offer qualified teacher status in any of the British countries. But if you go to teach in Britain, in England and Wales, what you can do is when you get a job, you can do the assessment only route, and that awards QTS within 3 months. And your PGCEi will count towards that.
Excellent, good. And I'll just answer the other question with regards to accreditation, recognition locally. We always do advise that you speak to your local ministries. And the reason for this is because every ministry in each country has got different rules and regulations, and they do tend to change quite quickly. And I can see Jane nodding because she does understand. She does this worldwide. So this is not only just in the Middle East, but it is worldwide. So I do advise that you get in contact with your local ministry to find out about the recognition. What I do advise is to get in touch with our academic consultants, ensure that you have all the relevant information of the program before you speak to the local authorities. Okay, so I hope that has actually cleared those questions that are coming through, all the same questions there. Okay, and a question from Rita. Does the University of Nottingham offer a master's in leadership in Dubai?
The University of Nottingham offers a mastership in leadership and management. I don't think it has a Dubai specific cohort, but it does have an online offering, so you can continue from your PGCEi and complete your master's at a distance.
Right, so do get in touch with your academic consultant at Stafford Global, and they will be able to provide you with various options around that. Okay. Also, a very good question that has come up from Janet. I do not have a second class honours, and I have got a bachelor in commerce. So will I actually be considered for the program?
Well, I can't give you a definitive answer now because we consider each case on its merits. So as Stafford colleagues will advise you how to apply, and we have a member of staff who will consider your application, including perhaps work and professional experience, and give you a definitive answer on that one.
Absolutely, good. And as Jane has mentioned, if you do get in touch with us, and I do advise to get in touch with us very quickly because the program is starting quite early next year. Do try and get your application documents into the university as quickly as possible, and your academic consultant will advise you at exactly what documents are required and how you can actually get into this program. And I'll just answer the questions on scholarships. Again, our academic consultants will be in a position to advise you of the fees, very, very flexible fee structure, and if there are any early bird scholarships available for you. So do get in touch with us immediately so that we can assist you with that. Okay. Do I have to give you details of the school or the institute at the time of enrollment? So that I am, as a confirmation that I am working, so that I can be part of the program?
No, you don't have to tell us which school you're working in to join the program. In fact, a lot of our students worldwide move schools in the middle of their program. We do understand how flexible international school teachers are. So we don't hold you to being in a particular school or a particular learning context, because I said school, but many of the students I work with are working in kindergartens. Some of them are working in higher or further education. So we're looking at a whole range of educational institutions, and we fully understand the flexibility of our students.
Good, and we do have a question that says here, I'm working as an LSA in a school. I was working in a nursery for 2 years as a teacher. I do have Cash 3, Cash 5. Should I continue to work as LSA in school or work as a teacher in a nursery? Very interesting question.
Oh, gosh, that's a big question, and it rather depends on what you enjoy and on your interests. In terms of doing the PGCEi, you will find that you can do the PGCEi as an LSA, assuming the school will let you do things like undertake a piece of research, plan a lesson, those sorts of things. But equally, you could do that as working in a nursery.
Okay, good. And I hope that answered your question there. And another question that is coming through is about what does my degree mention? And I think Jane has already mentioned that your degree certificate does not state online distance learning. You get the exact same degree certificate as if you were a full-time student on a campus. Okay. And you will get invited to the graduation. Sorry. Yes, please do continue.
Well, you are UK students of Nottingham University UK. So you have access to all the facilities of Nottingham University UK. We have a very wide range of support systems for our students, additional classes for study skills or English or whatever it is you need. And those are available for you to join from UAE. So we don't put that on your degree certificate because many of our students, you know, are not always based in the UK anyway.
Right, correct. And just to clarify about the duration, yes, it is a 12-month program. However, you do have the opportunity to stretch it. And Jane, correct me if I'm wrong, what is the maximum time period that someone can complete the program?
Well, this is not a flexible program in the sense of you can drop in and out whenever you fancy. The program is carefully planned to keep you moving through it. But the reality is, with busy professional lives and as slightly older students, you have more complicated lives than young undergraduates. Sometimes it's necessary for you to take some time out. And we have a program called Voluntary Interruption of Studies that allows you to do just that. If something major happens in your life and you need to take time out, you can do that. You literally, you know, fill in a form take time out, and we allow up to about a year, but you must complete the whole programme within 3 years of starting. So you can't just take time out just before the end if you won't have time to finish within the 3 years. Okay, so we do like our students to complete successfully, but we also recognise that sometimes major life events mean a bit of time out. Likewise, if you get ill before, say, a deadline for a piece of work, you can apply for extenuating circumstances for a short extension on that work. So there are processes for all those things.
Right, correct, good. And I'll just answer Jasmine's second question. Are we able to teach with a PGCEi in the UAE, or would I need any other accreditations? Okay, very good question. Again, Jasmine, it does really depend on your individual school and what their requirements are. So I do strongly advise that you have a chat to your principal, you know, speak to them about the PGCE program, what you intend to do, and if there are any other programs that they would want you to complete to meet the requirements of that particular school. Okay, and the other question is regarding the application. Okay, Sadaf, yes, Stafford Global has been in partnership with the University of Nottingham for many, many years, running it quite successfully in the UAE. So you do come through Stafford Global. Our academic consultants are very experienced in understanding what documents are required by the university to make sure that it is the strongest possible application in order for you to get into the program. So yes, I do strongly advise that you contact us and we can assist you with the application process. Okay, so let's just go on to the next question. Hi there, this is from Naeem. Right, if I'm graduating at the end of this year with a BA degree and English is one of my majors, will I qualify for this PGCE?
Oh, so the end of the year would be the end of the academic year this summer, perhaps. So if you were going for, say, October, that would be a realistic target. And you will need to check your particular degree with our applications people, and the Stafford specialist will help you to do that.
Right, quite correct. Just ensure that you do have a copy of your degree certificate and transcript, because that is mandatory and is required as part of your application. And as Jane has mentioned, you have to have access to an educational setting whilst you're doing the program. Okay, so you must have access to a school. All right, so I think, Naeem, that actually also covers your second question there as well. Okay, right, so this is an interesting question that has come through from Macha. Aside from the 2 face-to-face sessions, will there be other live sessions that I can attend during the 12-month duration of the course?
Well, this is largely distance learning, but we have live sessions for each module. We recognise that some people can't attend live sessions. We do try and put them at times that are convenient for you after the normal working day in UAE. And we encourage you, they're usually small group sessions with your tutor. We encourage you to go to those. We think it helps you to succeed. But if you really, really can't, then they will be recorded for you to watch afterwards.
Excellent, excellent. Again, very
and
flexible.
Of course, I should say you can contact your tutor at any time. Sometimes people prefer to meet with their tutor one-to-one, and a lot of our students do that.
Good, excellent. And this is another question again, a follow-up question from Macha. I am under the understanding that the course commences on the 12th of February. The initial workshop will be the 2nd and 3rd of March. What
Yes.
time or activities are expected of me in the first 2 weeks of the course leading up to the first workshop? Very good question there, Macha.
Well, there are a few things we ask you to do. The first one is to sign on to the online platform and have a look around it. You probably had a similar platform for your undergraduate degree, but each one is different. So the first thing we like you to do is to sign on to the online platform and take a little tour. Then we ask you to put up an autobiography about yourself, and you will see them going up from your fellow students, so you know a bit about each other before you actually meet, and about your tutors, of course. And then we ask you to do some interactive online work about academic writing and integrity. And there's a little package of work to do and to sign up to say you've done. And I think there's one more task, and I can't quite remember what it is, but we have a very few tasks aimed to get you into the online world you'll be working in, and to provide a bit of initial contact with us and with your fellow students. So it's not a heavy amount of work, it just gets you into it a bit.
Good, excellent. And it's a very interesting question from Blake. I have professional qualifications in education, but I do not hold a bachelor degree. Will I be accepted on the program?
It's difficult for me to say from here, but what you should do is talk to your Stafford consultant, and they will help you put in an application. And as I said, we have a member of staff who's specifically there to deal with those applications, because we recognise that not all our students come by a traditional route. So we do have students in exactly that situation, yes.
Absolutely. And I'll just follow on with that from Jane, is that please ensure that your CV is actually quite strong and demonstrates quite substantial experience in an educational setting. Okay, so you're looking at approximately 7 to 8 years of good, strong teaching experience. So once again, our academic consultant will be able to advise you on what we call a non-standard entry. Okay, a very good question that has come through from Robert. Can the program be accelerated to be completed in a shorter time frame than the 12 months? Very good question.
No, we don't. We think that's not academically responsible. We've got this course validated to be done in a certain time, and we've planned the learning materials in what we call student effort hours. So this course is designed for people who are working. And so each unit, each module is 200 student effort hours, and we think that that's approximately right for people who are working. And of course, it depends on the individual. For some people, they will do those pieces of work in less than 200 student effort hours, and some will take slightly longer. It depends on your own experience. So we don't encourage people to take the program at a different rate, because it is designed specifically to be done over the 11-month period, really.
Good. And another interesting question that is coming through, I think about 3 or 4 people have asked the same question in a roundabout manner. How much time should I be dedicating to this program, bearing in mind that I am working a full day and I am a working mom? So it's quite a good question, that.
It's a really good question, because all of your tutors, we've all got experience of being in your position. Some of us have been international school teachers, some of us have been domestic teachers, and most of us have done postgraduate degrees whilst we were teachers and had children. We know that this is precious time. So one of the things we do in our weekends together is consider strategies for maximising the time you can give to it. Now, as I said, we plan for around 200 student effort hours, but a student effort hour is almost not a unit of time because it depends on how you work. So we'd expect it to be around 12 hours a week, but it might be more or less for you. And some people find a little and often strategy works best. Some people like to just work at weekends. And some people work in some weeks and not in others. So finding the pattern that works for you is absolutely vital. And it's one of the reasons we put in very clear marker points, sort of deadlines when you have to have done certain things by, because that helps people to plan and helps them to set up little accountability groups and to know where they're going. We do understand that it's tough working at master's level when you're a working parent. And that's what this course is designed for. It's designed specifically for people in that situation. It's not a course designed for somebody to do full time that we've stretched. We've designed it specifically for people who are already working.
Right. Good. And also a very popular question is regarding the English requirement. Is it necessary to do an IELTS test, or are there any other means to achieve the English requirement?
Well, this is where talking with your Stafford advisors is really important, because there are other tests that are accepted as well. And it may be that there are other English requirements that will satisfy the University of Nottingham. And our Stafford colleagues keep up to date with that and will help you to apply and get a decision on that. But
Yes.
it's definitely not just IELTS.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So Jane is quite correct. There is a variety, or there are, I should say, a variety of methods of making sure that you do meet that English requirement. So please do get in touch with your academic consultant. We do look at your application holistically. So we'll be looking at your degree certificate. We may even look at where you finished your schooling. So it really is important to get in touch with us so that we can assist you with that. Okay, and a very good question here is, I understand that the workshops are compulsory. However, what happens if I cannot attend one of the sessions?
We'd suggest that you move to another cohort. We think the workshops are really, really important, and we know from experience that people who attend them are more likely to succeed, and we're all about our students succeeding.
Right. Good. And just a follow-up question on that one as well is, what is actually covered in the sessions? Do you talk about every single module? Can you give us some guidance on that?
Yes, what we cover in the sessions is we'll usually put about half of the first day, half the first weekend will be about the course, about what working at master's level really means, because for most people, that's a new experience. And also for most of our students don't come from an academic education background or even from social sciences. If you've got a degree in nuclear physics or physical education or sports science, actually changing your working ways to suit education takes a little bit of doing. So we'll put about a day of that into that particular area. We'll put about a day of it into preparing you for the first module. And we do tasks specifically focused on that first module to get you going. And of course, we'll go through all the housekeeping things like the timescale and what you should do and those sorts of things. In the second weekend, we will look at the second module in more detail and at the third module. And, we focus quite clearly on what it is you need to do in your setting to be successful in those modules.
Right, good.
Is that clear enough for your question? It's mostly workshop-based activity, and there's quite a lot of working with your colleagues. There's a lot of talking, It's a bit of a change of pace if you've not worked at master's level before. It'll get you thinking.
Yeah, yeah. And it is, as Jane mentioned, it's very important that you do attend these. They are a compulsory component of the program. And it does assist you in actually going through the program quite successfully. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jane, but it does actually provide quite a strong support for students to get through the program quite successfully. So this is important that you do attend these workshops. Okay.
So we know that each of our students is slightly different. And when we're with you, we can tailor things so that you find things accessible. We can see when you're not accessing something and we can put you on the right track. And I have to say, those 2 weekends are absolutely crucial to the success of many of our students. And we find them really, really useful.
Right, absolutely. Good. And a common question that comes through is, what would happen if I cannot attend the graduation in the UK? How do I get my degree certificate?
Well, we're well used to that. We're an international university. So what happens is if you complete all your work successfully, you get an email from us that says, congratulations, you've completed all your work successfully, and your marks will go to the examination board and be confirmed. And as soon as those marks are confirmed, you can download an electronic certificate and a transcript, because you might need it for professional reasons. A lot of our students are thinking about changing jobs around that time of year, and so that option is always available to you. But we also send out your certificates, and you can dial in to watch the graduation if you can't attend.
Right, good. And just going through this question here is, can I switch from online to full-time studies on the campus?
No, we only offer this program as a blended course. Even our Nottingham cohort is a blended course, because this is designed for international teachers who are already working. So this course was not designed to be a full-time course and then cut up into bits for professionals. This course was designed as a course for professionals, so that what you do links with your teaching situation.
Okay, and another very important question is about assignments. If I do happen to fail an assignment, do tutors advise where I have gone wrong, and am I permitted to resubmit?
We have a strong commitment to our students' success. So our first module, for instance, we recognise this is your first module at master's level, and so we offer quite a lot of support. We spend a bit of time on that in our first weekend, and we have tutor group meetings about that. Then you will submit some formative work or process work that forecasts what you're doing, and we will give you individual feedback on that process work. It's not pass or fail, you have to submit it, but we use it to give you individual feedback. Then in your first module, you're allowed to submit a draft of your assignment, and we will go through it in detail and give you individual feedback on that draft. And when you submit your final assignment, we will give you detailed individual feedback on your assignment. If any of our students fails an assignment, we would expect them to have an online tutorial with their tutor to help them to reframe it for a resubmission, and you have a right to resubmit.
Excellent. Good. I hope that answers that question. And Deirdre's question is, if I do start in March of 2024, then are we going to be finishing in March of 2025? Is that how it works?
Yes, you're probably going to be finishing in February of 2025. Yes, but it'll be March by the time everything's gone through.
Right, and don't forget that you'd have to wait for the graduation dates, okay, because there are certain graduation times during the year, and that is when you will be issued with your degree certificate. So just bear that in mind, because all the results have to obviously be vetted by the examinations board and signed off by Senate. So please just bear that in mind. And it's not as soon as you finish your degree, your studies, you get your degree immediately. It doesn't work like that. So just be, mindful of that.
But once the work has been ratified by the examination board, you can get an interim transcript that says that this work has been passed, but the degree awarding date is. So that will cover the gap between you completing the work and receiving the award.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jane's quite correct on that. Okay, and next question is from Amrita. I have not been a teacher formally for the last 2 years because I had a career change. Does this affect my application? Okay, Amrita, as Jane has mentioned, it is very important that you have access to a classroom at the onset of the program. Okay, so do get in touch with our academic consultants because they will be able to advise you as to the requirements and what you really need in order to get into that program. Okay. If I have completed an English exam and I have studied my degree and honours in the UK, and English is my first language, would I require an IELTS? It's also always a very, very important question.
If you completed a UK degree, I would be very surprised if you required IELTS.
Yeah. So again, what we like to do is just to look at your application holistically. So again, your academic consultant will be able to advise you as soon as you have submitted some of these documents, and we'll be able to give you some clarity on that. Reader, the graduation is not in the UAE. As we have mentioned, the graduation is in the UK, and Jane can tell you how auspicious this occasion is. Correct, Jane? I mean, you've had 10
lovely.
these.
We have graduation in the summer and in the winter, and it's lovely to go along, and some of our PGCEi students will be there, which is just great.
Good, super. And I've got a question on attestation. Okay, Janet, attestation is all managed by the students once you have completed your qualification. Unfortunately, the university nor Stafford, is involved in the attestation process. Okay, however, we may be able to guide you as to where you can look at doing your attestation. Okay, and a very interesting question from a reader. Will there be a need for a mentor to visit or to observe me in the classroom?
No, our program focuses on your professional development through your work in your classroom. So we don't actually come out and watch you teaching, but what we do is we look at your use of ideas in your teaching.
Okay, good. I hope that answers your question there. And I hope we have managed to, oh, okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much, Jane. Everyone's giving you good compliments there, Jane. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. And I have managed to get through all your questions. Thank you. As Jane has mentioned, we will be starting the program a little bit earlier in the year of 2024. Please note that there are only 100 applicants accepted per cohort. So I strongly suggest that you get in touch with our academic consultants and so that we can get your application into the university and get that very, very important unconditional offer. Applications are open now. We have already received quite a few applications, and as I said, seats are limited. So please do get in touch with us and we can assist you. I just have a last question and I'll answer that. Yes, this session is recorded this evening, so you will actually get a link to the recording and you'll receive it from myself. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining me this evening. Again, Dr. Jane, what a great pleasure to see you again. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone, and a good evening to all.